Last week, we drew from observation. Observation is when you look at something, but you don't just look quickly, you really look and you notice things. When you draw, you observe more because you're recording what you're seeing with a pencil or a crayon on paper. Our aim last week was to make a realistic drawing. That is a drawing that looked like a real tree. This week, we're going to use the realistic tree that we drew as a starting point. We can design a tree from our imagination using what we learned when we were observing a real tree. Look at these pictures and ask yourself, which looks more realistic and which looks more imaginative? Sometimes artists create abstractions from what they see. Like, how is this painting related to a tree? When you see the progression of Mondrian's work, you'll understand how it's related to the tree. Here's a painting he did from life, from observation, looking at a tree. Here's a painting he did afterwards. Can you still see the tree? Look carefully. How has it changed? Can you follow the progress from his last painting to this one? As Mondrian keeps painting, his work changes. It progresses more and more. The word abstraction means to pull away. What has Mondrian pulled away from the tree and used in this painting, or this one? For today's art class, you'll need your drawing of a tree, your texture drawings, and your line drawings from last week, and some new paper to work on. I'm keeping my tree drawing from 2 weeks ago right nearby. You can use a pencil, a crayon, even a Sharpie if you'd like, something that you're comfortable drawing with. I'm doing a quick sketch from my original drawing. Now that I have the basic shape, I want to refer to my line and texture drawings much more carefully. I'm picking a line I think is interesting, and I'm going to create a stylized, imaginative drawing of my tree using some of these lines. So you can see how I've started with a kind of wavy line. When I finish using the wavy line to outline my tree, I'm going to start to divide my tree into different parts so that I can add different textures to my tree. Here I'm going to use a castle line for my texture, and I'm going to build it up just the way we did when we did the texture studies last week. Now I think I'll make some zigzag lines and textures for the roots. I'm deciding to extend that castle line texture upward. And here are some concentric arches based on concentric circle lines. I look, I pause, I think, I decide to do another concentric circle line, and then to add more of the castle line texture to the limbs of the tree. Here comes some dotted lines. Let's see what they do to the texture of the tree. Now that I have the trunk of my tree, it's time to think about what kinds of lines and textures I can create for the leaves of the tree. And look, here's a spiral line. Now I'm going to do a version of a tree based not so much on texture, but using line to make the tree in a more stylized way. What does the word stylized mean? First, let's talk about what the word style means. It means a particular or a unique way of doing something. Even though these are the same letters making up the same word, they're all done in a different font, a different style. You can use the tree that you drew from observation to build a different tree, one that's based on your own particular style, using your own invented lines. Your stylized tree may be very different from the tree that you drew from observation, or it might be more realistic based on the actual looking and the actual tree. Here is my version of a stylized tree. Now I'll show you how I got there. I did a quick pencil sketch of my tree from observation. Then I decided to stylize my tree using dashed lines. And I'm using a black marker. You can use any drawing material you feel comfortable with. Oh, here comes a dotted line. And bigger dots. And more dashes. And more dots. And I'm pulling out my texture drawing to add more textures to what I'm doing. I thought of a lot of different lines to use for my leaves, my foliage, and I decided to use my circle line. It's a shape, but I had made a line out of it, and now I'm going to use it as a texture for the foliage. Foliage are the leaves on the trees. I'm adding some straight lines for the grass, but some are thick and some are thin. I want to add some color. I'm going to use crayons. You can use whatever you'd like. Just be sure that you don't lose your incredible lines when you add it. And although we'll study color later, I just want to point out to you that sometimes it's fun to use more than one type of one color. Like here you see me working with 3 different greens together. So here is my finished stylized tree. I hope you really enjoy doing yours, and I can't wait to see it, so upload it to your Google Classroom file.